picture this scenario for a second, right? You've just moved into this beautiful new build in Tomball,
Oh,
Texas.
yeah. Basically living the modern suburban dream.
Exactly. I mean, you've got these towering ancient pine forests right in your backyard. You can literally take a walk down by the tranquil waters of Spring Creek.
Right, the master plan neighborhood is just immaculate.
It's perfect. It feels like absolute bliss. But then the clock strikes 2 a.m.
Oh, no. I know where this is going.
Right. The house is completely silent, and then directly above your bed, you hear it.
Just that awful sound.
Yeah, a frantic, persistent scratching coming from right inside the drywall. And suddenly, that beautiful slice of nature outside it feels incredibly threatening.
Because it's breached your perimeter.
Exactly. It's inside.
It's a profoundly unsettling sound to wake up to. I mean, truly, a home is fundamentally designed to be a barrier between you and the elements.
Right. It's your safe space.
Yeah, so hearing an animal moving around in your ceiling, it just shatters that illusion of security. It forces you to realize that your house is, well, it's just another physical structure sitting in a very active, very ancient ecosystem.
And that 2 a.m. scratching, that's really the catalyst for our mission today. We are taking a deep dive into this hidden, highly complex intersection of human development and wildlife behavior.
It's such a fascinating topic.
It really is. And to guide us, we're unpacking a detailed operational overview of a specialized Tomball-based wildlife removal service. They're called the Critter Team.
Right.
But we're not just looking at them. We're also layering in authoritative guidelines from the CDC, the EPA, and state university extensions.
Bringing in the heavy hitters.
Exactly. The goal here is to strip away the guesswork, look at the hard science of what's actually happening inside our walls, and, more importantly, how professional exclusion actually works.
Setting the baseline here is so crucial because the industry of wildlife controls, I mean, it's widely misunderstood.
How so? Like, people just think of pest control.
Yeah, exactly. When people think of pest control, they usually picture someone spraying chemicals along a baseboard to stop ants or roaches.
Right, the bug spray guy?
Exactly. But that is an entirely different profession. The Critter Team, which, by the way, was founded back in June of 2015 by a retired U.S. military veteran named Mike Garrett. They operate strictly in the nuisance wildlife sector.
So we're talking about vertebrate animals here?
Right. Mammals, birds, reptiles. Dealing with them requires construction knowledge, biological expertise, and a deep understanding of animal psychology.
Wow, okay. I want to focus on the geography for a second, though, because our sources indicate that Tomball and the surrounding areas of Harris County are like an absolute hotspot for this kind of service.
Oh, absolutely, ground zero.
Right. So what makes that specific corridor such a magnet for human-wildlife conflict?
Well, it really comes down to the mechanics of urban sprawl colliding with prime historical habitats.
Okay, lay that out for us.
So the Tomball landscape features this incredible density of mature hardwood and pine canopies, right? And they're intertwined with natural water sources like Spring Creek.
Right, which is beautiful.
It is. And for thousands of years, that setup has supported a massive population of wildlife. But over the last decade, you have this rapid, incredibly dense, master-planned residential construction.
Right. They're pushing directly into those wooded corridors.
Exactly. So you're simultaneously bulldozing their natural hunting grounds while erecting thousands of perfectly climate-controlled, predator-free attics.
Oh, wow. I never thought about it like that. So the pressure doesn't just disappear.
No, not at all. It simply relocates right into the human environment.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit because I'm going to play devil's advocate right out of the gate here.
Right for it.
We need to address the elephant in the room regarding how homeowners handle this. If I hear a rat in my attic, I can literally drive to a big box hardware store right now, spend maybe $15 on a bucket of anticoagulant bait, and just toss it up there.
Right, the DIY approach.
Yeah, so hiring a specialized 100% in-house professional crew sounds like a massive luxury tax, right? Like, the Critter Team's operational guidelines emphasize this strict no-poison philosophy.
They do, yeah.
It sounds noble, but isn't it just, a way to justify expensive professional interventions?
I mean, it is a completely logical assumption.
Right.
And it is the exact trap thousands of homeowners fall into every single year.
Really? A trap?
Yeah, because the no-poison philosophy is not about taking some moral high ground. It is a rigid biological and thermodynamic necessity.
Like thermodynamic, what does heat have to do with it?
Well, let's trace the biology first.
Yeah.
When a homeowner throws rodenticide into an attic, they are setting off a catastrophic chain reaction. The poison does not induce instant cardiac arrest.
Oh, it doesn't. I thought it just killed them on the spot.
No, it acts as an anticoagulant, so it makes the animal feel incredibly lethargic and sick over the course of several days.
So the animal's natural survival instinct kicks in. Like, if you feel vulnerable in the wild, you hide.
Precisely. A poisoned roof rat will drag itself into the deepest, most inaccessible recess of your house to recover.
Oh, no. Let me guess.
Yep. They will drop down into the wall voids, that narrow gap between your interior drywall and your exterior brick. And that is where they die.
Oh, man. That sounds awful.
It gets worse. Now factor in the thermodynamic reality of the Texas summer.
Oh, God. Baking inside the wall.
Exactly. You have a decomposing mammal baking in a wall void. Within 48 hours, the biological off-gassing creates an odor so structurally pervasive and hazardous that the living space becomes literally uninhabitable.
So that $15 fix from the hardware store.
It backfires entirely.
Yeah, it ends up requiring a contractor to come in, physically cut a 3-foot hole in your living room wall, extract a decaying biohazard, sanitize the void, and then patch, texture, and paint the drywall all over again.
Exactly. The economics flip overnight. That is the fundamental difference between amateur extermination and professional exclusion.
So how do the pros do it then?
The professional methodology involves humanely trapping the animal, physically removing it from the property, and then permanently sealing the entry point so it can never happen again.
And that involves actual structural modifications, right?
Yeah, structural modifications backed by written warranties.
Which explains another detail in our source material that really initially caught me off guard.
What's that?
The critter team carries $1 million per occurrence and a $2 million aggregate general liability policy, alongside full workers' compensation and specialized Texas nuisance wildlife removal permits.
It's a lot of coverage.
Yeah, I originally thought that seemed absurdly high for just a trapping service, but I guess they aren't just setting cages.
Oh, no, not at all. They're climbing 30-foot ladders, interacting with complex structural architecture, and handling actual vectors for disease. The liability is immense.
Right, because if an uninsured handyman falls off your roof...
Or inadvertently creates a fire hazard by trapping an animal near electrical wires, the homeowner can be held financially liable for that.
Yikes. So the professional standard requires that level of insurance because they are basically providing a highly specialized form of biohazard construction work.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Well, let's transition into the mechanics of the house itself. If the goal is exclusion, keeping the animals out, we have to look at the vulnerabilities of modern construction.
Which are everywhere, unfortunately.
Right. And our sources point heavily to the roofline. It seems counterintuitive, right? Like, the most complex intrusions aren't happening at the foundation. They're happening 30 feet in the air.
Yeah, the modern attic is essentially an accidental sanctuary. It offers everything an animal needs.
Like stable temperatures.
Stable temperatures, complete protection from hawks and owls, and ample nesting material. And the first species to exploit this architectural oversight usually arrives by air.
Bats.
Bats.
See, people associate bats with limestone caves. Right. Not suburban subdivisions.
Right. But they don't need a cave. They just exploit the friction points and build a great construction.
Like the fascia boards.
Exactly. That horizontal trim running right below the roofline. Especially in older construction around Tomball's historic center, or homes backing right up to those green belts.
Because builders often leave those tiny expansion gaps where the soffit meets the roof.
Yes. And a bat only needs a gap, a fraction of an inch wide, and they don't arrive alone.
No.
No, a single maternal colony can quickly multiply into hundreds of individuals, all clustered behind your brick veneer.
Wow. And the visible symptom is usually just the guano piling up on the driveway or sticking to the side of the house.
Yeah, that's what people notice first.
But the true threat is respiratory. The CDC guidelines in our stack are very aggressive about the risks of bat guano.
Very aggressive, and for good reason. The visual's a nuisance, but the internal environment is a serious hazard. Bat guano acts as an incubator for a specific fungus called histoplasma.
Okay, and what happens with that?
Well, when that guano sits in an attic that reaches 130 degrees in the Texas summer, it dries out and turns into a fine powder.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Right. If you go into your attic to, say, retrieve holiday decorations and disturb that powder, or if your HVAC system pulls air from a compromised duct, those fungal spores become airborne.
And inhaling them causes a severe respiratory infection, right? Sosplasmosis.
Exactly. Furthermore, Bats are prime vectors for the rabies virus, which can be transmitted through bites or even microscopic scratches.
So this means a homeowner absolutely cannot just put on a dust mask, grab a tennis racket, and try to chase a colony out of the attic.
Attempting that is incredibly dangerous and highly ineffective.
So what's the protocol?
Bat exclusion requires an intricate understanding of their biology. Professionals use specialized one-way devices.
How do those work?
Imagine a smooth plastic tube or a funnel installed over the entry point. At night, the bat drops out of the tube to hunt.
Okay, simple enough.
But when they return, their echolocation cannot process the smooth, angled plastic, and their claws cannot grip the material to climb back up.
Oh, that's clever. They are safely locked out.
Exactly. And our sources note that the founder, Mike Garrett, holds an NWCOA BAT standard certification.
Right. He conducts, what, 30 to 40 of these highly regulated bat exclusions a year across the greater Houston area?
Yeah, which requires navigating complex maternal seasons, so flightless pups aren't sealed inside. It's very specialized.
Okay, let's stick with the roof line, but look at a different kind of airborne interloper. Birds.
Yes.
Starlings, sparrows, pigeons. It seems like they treat bathroom exhaust vents and dryer vents as, like, prefabricated cylindrical homes.
They absolutely do.
And the danger here seems twofold, right? You've got the acidic nature of their waste corroding the siding, and then the sheer fire hazard of packing a dryer vent with dry twigs and lint.
Yes, the fire risk cannot be overstated here. A residential clothes dryer pushes out exhaust air that can easily exceed 130 degrees.
Which is really hot.
Right. If that airflow hits a densely packed bird's nest blocking the vent cap, it can easily ignite the lint and the twigs.
And that pulls the fire directly into the wall interior?
Ex-
Here's my question, though. If I step outside, look up, and see a bird's nest blocking my dryer vent, common sense dictates I just grab a ladder, put on some gloves, and pull the nest out.
Sounds logical.
Right. But our sources indicate that doing so might actually result in a visit from the federal government.
What's fascinating here is the legal framework surrounding wildlife control. It's really complex.
Really? Over a bird's nest?
Oh, yeah. In 1918, the United States enacted the Migratory Bird Treaty Act to stop the commercial trade of bird feathers. Today, that act is enforced by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and it federally protects almost all native bird species you see in Texas.
Wait, all of them?
Almost all of them. It is a strict liability law. If a homeowner knowingly or unknowingly disturbs an active nest containing eggs or flightless young, or harms the birds without specific federal authorization, they are committing a federal crime.
You're kidding. So property rights do not supersede federal wildlife protection.
They absolutely do not.
That drastically changes the calculus of DIY pest control.
It really does. You have to bring in certified operators who know the legal timelines of when a nest is actually considered inactive.
And beyond the legal removal, you need engineered prevention.
Right.
The Critter team utilizes bird barrier certified installation techniques, and we aren't talking about like stapling chicken wire to a vent, right?
Oh, no. These are tensioned netting systems, UV-stabilized spikes, and heavy-duty weather-resistant vent covers.
So they basically alter the architecture of the home just enough to prevent the bird from landing or nesting.
Exactly, while fully maintaining the necessary airflow for the appliances.
Okay, so bats and birds represent what we might call crimes of opportunity.
Right.
They find existing gaps or open vents and just settle in.
That's a good way to put it.
But the next category in our deep dive focuses on the active destroyers. The animals that don't look for an open door, they basically kick the door down.
Yep.
We have to talk about raccoons.
Raccoons possess an astonishing combination of sheer brute strength and physical dexterity.
They have those little hands, right?
Exactly. Their front paws function very much like human hands, complete with an opposable digit. In late winter, a pregnant female raccoon looking for a secure den site will climb onto a roof and literally dismantle it.
Just tear it apart.
Yeah, they will pry open ridge vents, peel back shingles, or simply use their body weight to rip off a 30 by 30 steel mushroom vent.
Wow. And the physical damage to the roof is catastrophic enough, but the CDC research in our stack highlights a much more insidious threat hiding in the aftermath.
The biological threat.
Yeah. Raccoon feces carry something called Baileys ascaris.
Yes, Baileys ascaris is a parasitic roundworm. Raccoons shed millions of these microscopic eggs in their droppings. And the terrifying part of their biology is how incredibly resilient they are.
How resilient are we talking?
These eggs can survive dormant in your attic insulation for years, enduring freezing winters and boiling Texas summers.
That's a nightmare.
It is. If a raccoon establishes a latrine in your attic, They aren't just compressing your insulation and destroying its R value. They are turning the space into a severe biological hazard zone.
Which means the removal process is a delicate logistical operation.
Highly delicate.
You have to utilize humane live traps, check them daily especially, to ensure a mother is not separated from a litter of young tucked away in the soffit, and then a crew has to come in wearing full hazmat gear.
Right, to vacuum out the contaminated insulation, sanitize the entire attic floor, and blow in fresh material.
It is a full-scale environmental remediation.
Completely.
So moving from brute force to relentless persistence, we look at squirrels.
Yes, the acrobats.
Right. With all the tall hardwoods around Tomball, a squirrel can bypass the ground completely and launch themselves directly onto a roof pitch. And their primary weapon isn't strength, it's their biology.
Here's where it gets really interesting. A squirrel's incisors never stop growing.
Wait, never?
Never. They can grow up to 6 inches a year.
Oh, wow.
So to survive, they are biologically compelled to gnaw on hard surfaces to file those teeth down. When a squirrel finds a soft spot where the wood is slightly weakened or where the roofline transitions into the fascia, they simply chew a hole straight through the material.
And once they are inside, that chewing instinct creates an immediate emergency.
It really does.
Because the Kansas State University Extension data points out that squirrels routinely strip the protective casing off electrical wiring in attics.
Which is terrifying.
Yeah. They expose the bare copper, turning the attic into a massive fire risk.
And this brings us to one of the most dangerous mistakes a homeowner can make, the handyman special.
Oh boy. What's that?
A homeowner sees the hole from the outside, hires someone to climb up, and simply nails a piece of plywood or sheet metal over the gap.
Without verifying if the animal is still inside?
Precisely. And if you trap a squirrel inside an attic, it triggers an immediate panic response. A terrified rodent will chew through anything in a desperate attempt to escape. Anything. They will chew through PVC water pipes, causing catastrophic flooding. They will chew through heavy-gauge electrical mains. By trying to patch a hole cheaply, you exponentially increase the likelihood of burning the house down.
That's terrifying. But the professional exclusion method for this is fascinating because it borders on custom manufacturing, right?
It really does.
Our notes show that the Critter team fabricates 23-gauge aluminum directly on site. They bend it to fit the exact contours of the compromised transition, paint it to match the exterior trim, and rivet it into place. It's not a patch job. It's essentially retrofitting the house with architectural armor.
Architectural armor is the perfect term.
Yeah.
You are hardening the perimeter, and you need absolute precision, particularly when defending against the next species, roof rats.
Oh, right. Because the heavy tree canopy and dense landscaping of master plan communities, it basically creates perfect highways for them.
Exactly. And unlike a raccoon that needs a massive hole, our sources confirm that a roof rat can collapse its rib cage and squeeze through a gap the size of a dime.
A dime. Just a dime.
A dime. I want you to mentally walk around the exterior perimeter of a house. Think about how many dime-sized gaps exist.
Probably dozens.
At least every weep hole in the brickwork designed to let moisture out, the gaps where the air conditioning lines penetrate the siding, the slight unevenness around a garage door seal.
Wow.
If a rat finds one of these penetrations, you will quickly start finding dark, rice-sized droppings in the attic, the garage, and eventually inside kitchen cabinets.
And the protocol here circles right back to the beginning of our deep dive. No poison.
Zero poison.
Instead, the technicians set highly sensitive snap traps along the established travel paths in the attic to humanely eliminate the current population, right?
Yes.
While simultaneously walking the exterior to seal every single dime-sized gap with specialized copper or stainless steel mesh and clear weather-resistant sealant, you have to physically lock them out.
Because if you fail to lock out the rodents, you trigger a biological ripple effect.
The food chain.
Exactly. In nature, where there is an abundance of prey, predators will inevitably follow. This is where our analysis moves from the roofline in the attic all the way down to the foundation.
The ground game.
Yes, the ground game.
Tomball's geography, the wooded creeks, the heavy brush, is prime habitat for snakes. And we are talking about venomous species here. Copperheads and western cottonmouths are native residents.
And finding a snake inside a garage or a living room is a terrifying experience. But the Texas Parks and Wildlife data provides a crucial insight that reframes the entire scenario.
Okay, what's that?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, a snake is not a creature of complex desires. Its behavior is driven by three basic imperatives:
Hmm.
mating, hibernating, and eating.
So if it isn't the middle of winter and it isn't mating season, that snake is on a hunting expedition.
Exactly. A snake acts like a biological heat-seeking missile. It possesses highly specialized sensory organs to track the scent trails of rodents.
Okay, so if a venomous snake has found its way inside your wall voids or your garage, it didn't just wander in randomly.
Nope. It followed a rat. It tracked a food source through a weak vent or an unsealed gap.
Which means the snake is actually a symptom.
Yes.
The rodent is the disease. So you cannot just hire someone to remove a snake and expect the problem to be solved.
Not at all.
Hmm.
Unless you cut off the food supply by trapping the rats and sealing the house, another snake will simply follow the exact same scent trail next week.
It requires a holistic understanding of the food web. Technicians trained in handling venomous reptiles must safely capture the predator, but the permanent solution is always exclusion of the prey.
Always.
While we are looking at the foundation level, we also have to talk about the structural wreckers operating out in the yard. Armadillos.
Ah,
A
yes.
beautifully irrigated, manicured lawn in Tomball with sandy soils is essentially an all-you-can-eat grub buffet for them.
It really is. And homeowners often dismiss armadillos as just a cosmetic nuisance because they dig shallow holes in flower beds.
But they do more than that.
Oh, absolutely. The Texas A&M AgriLife extension highlights the severe structural danger they pose. An armadillo's primary burrow can be incredibly deep and complex.
Really? I had no idea.
Yeah, and if they decide to dig that burrow alongside or underneath a home's foundation footers, concrete driveways, or heavy air conditioning pads, they remove massive amounts of soil.
And when you introduce water from sprinkler systems or heavy Texas rainstorms, that water pools in the burrow, right?
Right, washing away even more dirt until the concrete above is completely undermined.
So you end up with cracked driveways, shifted AC units, and potentially compromised foundation slabs.
Exactly. And capturing them requires intense behavioral observation. You cannot go to a hardware store, buy a wire cage, throw a piece of fruit in it, and expect an armadillo to walk inside.
Because they aren't scavenging for bait like a raccoon?
Exactly. They hunt live insects by smell. Trapping an armadillo requires a technician to really read the landscape, identify the exact travel corridors along fences or walls, and use temporary wooden barriers to physically funnel the animal into the trap, using the geometry of its own walking path.
So what does this all mean? We have traced this from the highest peaks of the roof down to the dirt under the foundation.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We really have. We've gone from the microscopic threat of airborne fungal spores in bat guano, to raccoons tearing off steel vents, to venomous snakes hunting rats in the walls, and armadillos threatening concrete slabs.
It paints a very clear picture.
It really does. Wildlife control is not an isolated event. It is an ongoing logistical war to maintain the integrity of the building envelope.
It absolutely demands an infrastructure of its own. It is about dispatching trained technicians, managing hazardous waste removal, fabricating custom metalwork, and replacing ruined insulation.
And we mentioned the critter team's operational scope earlier. They don't just trap animals, they handle dead animal extraction, applying specialized odor treatments for skunks that den under porches or opossums that die inside crawl spaces.
Right. And the logistics of coordinating all of this across the sprawling geography of Harris County is just staggering.
I can imagine.
Our sources give a specific nod to Victoria Garrett, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, she has been the office manager for the critter team since January 2016. She is essentially the operational backbone, ensuring that when an emergency call comes in, the scheduling, the initial inspections, and the long-term animal proofing projects are seamlessly executed.
That centralized in-house organization is critical when you are dealing with situations that escalate rapidly and compromise the safety of a family home.
It's the only way to do it effectively.
Which brings us right back to where we started. If you are listening to this right now and you happen to reside in the Tomball or Spring area and you are realizing that your home might need this level of specialized in-house poison-free defense, you can reach the critter team directly.
Right.
Their headquarters is located at Fronting 627 Shadow Valley Drive, Spring, Texas, 77379. Or if it happens to be 2 a.m. and you are currently listening to that scratching right above your ceiling, you can call them at 281-800-4992.
Because you really do not want to wait for a minor intrusion to become a major biohazard.
Exactly. So any final thoughts before we wrap up this deep dive?
This deep dive really forces us to confront a much larger question about how we construct our modern world.
How so?
Well, as our master plan communities become greener, and as we intentionally design beautiful nature preserves and wooded green belts to wind through our subdivisions, we are essentially building perfect synthetic ecosystems.
Right, we're bringing the wild right up to the front door.
Exactly. So the question is, are we destined to constantly fight nature, retrofitting and patching our homes piece by piece after the damage is already done? Or will the future of home building eventually require this intense level of engineered wildlife proofing to be integrated directly into the architectural blueprints from day one?